Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. This morning, Black women accounted for about 25% of crime victims in Chicago, despite making up only 16% of the city's population. And that stat is just the beginning of such a brutal report on the plight of Black women in Chicago. Really, it's a microcosm of what Black women go through all over the country and all over the world. We're going to talk about that a little bit this morning and why it's becoming more obvious that Donald Trump, yes, Donald Trump, the 91 times indicted, 91 felony accounts, 4 times indicted, 91 felony charges, twice impeached, civil jury convicted him of sexual assault and ordered him to pay $5 million. His business has been found by a judge in New York to have committed fraud, and he's on trial now to pay $250 million fraud trial, civil fraud trial. But why he likely won't face any real prosecution to after the election, which means if he wins, he won't face prosecution for his crimes or alleged crimes at all. We're going to tell you the latest evidence and why it's becoming more obvious that he won't face any type of repercussions, not next year anyway. And also, this phenomenon, I'm sorry, not black, but Black people are very much involved in of buy now, pay later, Afterpay, Affirm, and all that. Well, the effect it's having on Black Americans is extremely negative, according to the latest stats. We will bring you that as well. And Charlamagne tells Black rappers it's time to stop with the entourage. Stop hanging out with these crews that you hang out with. We'll tell you why he's saying that. And Lenny Kravitz, yes, Power 96, Lenny Kravitz says he wants to set the record straight. You know, we brought you that story yesterday. Well, he wants to set the record straight. Not sure was he responding to Let It Be Known or to the Griot, but nonetheless, it was responding to Black media. And Power 96 is all over that. I saw Power 96's Instagram page about it. And of course, this morning he's chiming in big time. He says it took half a football season for a caller to call my show and name 5 Black-owned newspapers. Lenny Kravitz could not name 5 Black-owned newspapers. Yeah, I would wager on your side on that one for sure. But Lenny says, look, y'all got it all wrong. But we start first in the city, the Windy City. Through public records requests, the local CBS station there in Chicago obtained police data that contains the victim profiles for every reported incident in the city over the last 2 decades. You talk about investigative reporting, digging. Boy, oh boy. Uh, the digging accounted for more than 8 million victims, and one group consistently held the burden of crime: Black women. In 2022, last year, there were more than 26,000 violent crimes and more than 212 nonviolent crimes in Chicago, ranging from shooting and robberies to retail and motor vehicle theft, affecting about 260,000 victims. Well, about 25% of those victims were Black women. And when you consider that Black women comprise just 16% of Chicago's population, oh my gosh, you see how over-indexed they are in these crime categories. The ratio is more pronounced, is about 33% when accounting only for reported crimes with race data. and excluding crimes without clear victims, such as retail theft and other narcotics arrests and violations. The resultant analysis becomes the closest accounting, short of actual names, of who is directly affected by crime in Chicago. There were about 1,600 sexual assault victims last year, for instance, and Black women made up 40% of those victims. Black women were the most victimized group in Chicago. They account, as far as assaults were concerned, 35% of assaults and 38% of batteries were committed against Black women. They also accounted for 34% of 146 kidnappings, and half of the human trafficking crimes that took place victimized Black women. Even in nonviolent crimes, Black women can't catch a break. Even in nonviolent crimes, which accounted for nearly a quarter of property thefts and 28% of motor vehicle thefts, where race data is available. Of the 455 victims assaulted on buses, city buses, at bus stops, trains, and train stations last year, Black women were the hardest hit, accounting for 38% of the victims. They also, it just, whew. And Power 96 says, yeah, this is just insane. They also accounted for more than half of the 27 sexual assault victims on city transportations. On city transportation, whether bus or train. They said Black and Hispanic women mostly experience crime through batteries, while white victims experience crime through property thefts. They misplaced their platinum card. Somebody took it. It's so disturbing. In 2022, for instance, for every white girl who was a victim of battery, there were 14 Black girls. We're talking girls now, before reaching womanhood. There were 14 Black girls who were battered. Also, Black women in Chicago are the most stalked victims. Last year, there were more than 200 Black women stalked, which accounted for half of the victims. So now this question goes out to Black men. What are y'all doing to protect your Black women? Apparently not a lot. I mean, yeah, we can't say it's your fault that they are victimized, but where are you? Holy smoke. When I was looking at this report, and again, this is not some group putting together stats. This is from crime stats provided by law enforcement. Oh my gosh. What is going on in Chicago? Beautiful city. Misha Green, she goes there all the time, managing editor of the Washington Informer. Her mom lives there. Goodness grief. My wife and I went there a few years ago for an anniversary, and we saw Hamilton there, and just enjoyed the city. And what are y'all doing over there? And Mike V says a community of no fathers has no leadership. Wow. Yeah. We got to do better in Chicago. Oh man. It's mind blowing. It really tugs at you when we just, yeah, I'm gonna equate it somehow, but we just a couple weeks ago we were talking about all of these sexual assault lawsuits filed in New York against, some big names, and how Black women in particular, are just used as punching bags, as sexual objects, and It's horrible. These are not your this is not this is far worse. You imagine Malcolm X, because remember what he said. Everybody knows what Malcolm X said, the black women being the most disrespectful. What would he say today? I think Malcolm would probably just go to Mecca and stay. Probably couldn't stomach this. He'd take all, and he got all these girls. He had all these girls, Ilyasha and all of them. He'd probably take them today. We all going to Mecca. We stand in Mecca. Unreal. We got to do something. We have to do something about it. In fact, we should do here is this something I'm thinking. Perhaps we need some sort of forum, some sort of black press forum on protecting black women, using Malcolm X's words as our theme. Good night. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And black men, we must step up. I got girls, and I was just telling my wife just the other day. I said, because we worry about the girls and driving and perhaps getting pulled over or whatever. I just told her, so you know, it will be it will be the end of me if something that we continue to see in the news was to happen to one of my girls. Got 4 girls. It will be not this let it be known guy. He used to let it be known, you'll be saying. Anyway, moving on to the twice impeached, 4 times indicted former president Donald Trump, and Power 96 doesn't want me to move on yet. He says he agrees this must stop, but please do not, with a capital not, invite Candace Owens. I would say what first thing came to my mind, but I'm not. It's not appropriate. Candace Owens. Who is that? Who is that? Does she know who she is? Gosh. But okay, Angela. See, y'all gotta stop me from moving on. Angela, I got Angela Connolly. Where's my Angela Connolly says a community with no fathers have no leadership. Women have wait a second, toted the load for years. Don't make me run back to my phone. I was in the barn. She's no, so I agree with both of y'all. Mike V, I agree with that, but I also agree with what you're saying here, and I've thought of that, Angela, that black women certainly have shouldered the load forever. But I think the point is they shouldn't have to, and they need someone, or let me rephrase that. They could use someone to stand up for them. Daniela Pierre says March is Women's History Month. Could be a good time to host a solution-driven forum on the state of black women. Couldn't agree more, Daniela. I think Greer's probably taking notes, saying, yeah, that might not be a bad idea. Power 96 says of Candace Owens, she ain't one of us. She ain't one. When it all boils down to it, she's gonna be like Omarosa, a woman without a country. Because even today, black women, when it comes to Omarosa, wait, didn't what's her name? Robin Roberts say bye, Felicia, and Austin is what Austin.
And,
You always
we need unregulated guns, not.
Uh-oh. I heard something. But Austin's always watching. You supposed to be with a microphone in front of you, Austin. And Mike V says Republicans really don't have an answer going forward for POTUS 2028. He's already at 2028. Mike V is ahead of the game. And Angela says, look what they have for a role model. All right. Donald J. Trump. So here's why he likely won't face any consequences next year. before the president election. And of course, if he wins, he won't face consequences at all. But potential jurors in his federal election interference trial now know that they're in the pool. The U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia sent prospective jurors a pre-screening form asking about their availability to appear in person on February 9th to fill out a written questionnaire for use in the jury selection process for a March 4 trial. A resident in Washington who received one of the forms did this, what you see on your screen, shared it with NBC News. Though the form does not name or refer to the defendant directly, the court had earlier set those specific dates for the questionnaire and the start of Trump's trial. The form advises potential jurors that their trial may last approximately 3 months after jury selection is completed, which is consistent with estimates of the timetable for Trump's trial. And now it's all over Twitter. And so why is that? Why is that reason to believe that Trump won't face any repercussions next year? Because already it sets the stage. If something as simple as the jury questionnaire leaks like this, you know good and well that something during either the selection process or the trial is going. This shows you that it's going to could very well, what probably will occur, because something like this will get a defense attorney to say, Judge, you need to declare a mistrial. And guess what? Despite how stickler to the law, in fact, because of how stickler to the law the judges are supposed to be, and in this case, Judge Chutkan in D.C., the judge won't have any choice but to grant a mistrial. And what does a mistrial do? It puts off for months the actual trial. And that means that it goes past the election, which is what Trump wants in the first place. And you cannot tell me that there won't be at least one juror in that pool. See, they got to sequester the jury, number one. And right now, there's no talk of the jury being sequestered. And I'm pretty sure that it has a problem with that. If they do try to sequester the jury, that will be a thing where the defense would object, and then they would have to hold hearings as to why the jury needs to be sequestered. See, I'm not a lawyer, but I know this. I play one on TV. But I know about this. And you got to wonder, this person who decided he didn't even give this, the National Enquirer or Radar Online or TMZ probably would have paid him for this, him or her. This dude this individual went straight to NBC News with it. So it just tells you that it shows you some of the difficulties of prosecuting this guy. And even down in Atlanta, that the one the former black publicist for Kanye and those guys who work with Trump, who's among the indicted, the female, Fonnie Willis's team wants her in jail. She thinks that she can do what they can do, what folks like Trump can do, and post stuff on the internet and insults and threats. But it shows you the difficulties, just some of the many, many difficulties they have in trying to get this thing done, which is why we understand, especially in prosecuting a former president, you have to be very meticulous about things. But the January 6th Commission, Benny Thompson, etc., provided the DOJ prosecutors with everything they needed some time ago. In fact, they did the work. They did all the legwork that prosecutors should have been doing since January 6th, 2021. But they didn't. And so all of these indictments come in with crunch time, with the election like right in front of you. And so this is what you get. This is what you get, which also begs the question from conspiracy theorists: did they do this to say, look, we tried to do our job, knowing that they couldn't do their job? They wasn't going to, they didn't intend to follow through, and they needed an out. You have to ask these questions. It's the Cuddy lady that I'm referring to, as Power 96 says, Mike V. She's the one who's he says she's 5 cans short of a 6-pack. She's the one that the prosecutors in Georgia are going to be asking the judge to jail her. But nonetheless, that they're going to, this is all of the stops that going to be pulled when as we get closer and closer to the first trial date for Donald Trump, which is right now March the 4th. And the hope in the special counsel's case that's supposed to start on March 4th is that they will be done and have a verdict by August. But it's a close timeline, because you got to know that the defense gets there's no time clock in the courtroom on defending yourself, or even from the prosecutor side. They can present for months, and the defense, if they could call enough witnesses, and if you don't, it could be one of those filibuster type things where they're asking this witness the same question or different questions, over and over again. You remember the OJ trial? The OJ trial, people forget, it began with his arraignment in June of 1994. They had preliminary hearings in July. The trial began in January, and it didn't end until October of 1995. So indeed, these things can be delayed or just carried out. So they've already got in this special election, this special counsel's trial, they've got a very condensed window in which they're trying to get it all in, which suggests too that the prosecutor, Jack Smith, is not going to call but so many witnesses, because he's going to want to end his case at least by April to prepare for some sort of shenanigans by the defense to push it out longer. And then he's got to be very careful in every question, every witness, and every piece of evidence he presents, because again, the threat of a mistrial looms, and they cannot afford a mistrial and start all over again. So it's going to be interesting. So this is what triggered this morning. The fact that somebody would just go to NBC News. Look, I got the documents to fill out for the jury. I'm in the jury pool. This guy, we list all the 91 charges, twice impeached, indicted 4 times. The fraud that the judge found him guilty of grave civil fraud is how the judge put it. The sexual assault, which the jury found against him. allegedly making hush money payments to cover up an alleged extramarital affair with a porn star. This is all the guy that is the front runner for the Republican nomination. Wrap your heads around that. Wow, politics, it's more comedy than anything else. Moving on. So, how many people use buy now, pay later, like Afterpay, Affirm? Um, there's another one I can't think of his name, but these transactions have now increased so significantly that on Cyber Monday, uses of buy now, pay laters were up 43% over last year. So even while consumers are spending more money, the worries, the concerns continue to rise, especially among African Americans. Forbes took an in-depth look at buy now, pay later, which is essentially a type of credit or loan that customers often overlook when shopping for holiday gifts. Forbes reported that buy now, pay later is used by people of all demographics, but mostly, of course, by African Americans. And they said that there is a significant reliance on it among financially vulnerable individuals. The disproportionate impact on Black Americans is especially concerning. Black consumers are 63% more likely than white consumers to use buy now, pay later platforms. And it raises a lot of questions because the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they did not, with these buy now, pay laters, they didn't uh, disclose potential financial risks that are associated with the services. All we know is many people use them. They have lower credit scores or unfulfilled credit needs. They're short on cash, so they resort to buy now, pay later. Even and make no mistake, it's not buy now, pay later is not just for, they don't necessarily target low income people. It's for everybody can use them. But Black and Hispanic consumers were found to have been more likely than white consumers to use it. It's that, and so Allied Research says that that market is going to reach about $4 trillion by 2030. The real world effects of financial distress are highlighted by the shocking 27% of Black households that are currently behind on their debt payments, according to Lending Club's holiday season survey. So you got to be careful with this buy now, pay later situation. It's very attractive to many, but experts have called it loan stacking. They get because people get multiple buy now, pay later loans from different suppliers. It don't show up on their credit reports. And so financial experts say that this strategy has the potential to create a dangerous debt spiral. And it's pretty obvious, right? And many of the buy now, pay later services, what they do is conceal an individual's actual amount of debt because they don't report to the major credit bureaus. So they don't. So you go to one buy now, pay later, and you're $2,000-3,000 in the hole with them. Go to another buy now, pay later service. That one that you're in debt to doesn't report to the one that you go to. So now an individual is incurring debt there too. And this is the season where they get you. Y'all, holiday season is where they get you. So the warning to Black and brown shop and all shoppers is to beware of the buy now, pay later folks. And some of the comments just make me laugh. Like Southbound 3000 says Trump trial will forever be known as tainted love. And I read that and I'm reading it out loud now. I'm hearing the song in my head, Tainted Love. It's not going to go away, Southbound 3000 today. Power 96 says, ain't no way I would use that. Save up and buy later is my motto. And that's a great motto. That is a fantastic motto. So, I mean, obviously we can't tell people what to do with their money or their credits and stuff like that, but it's advisable, folks, that you are very careful if you're using these services to really consider, really deeply consider it before. Think about all the other options that might be available, including, as Power 96 says, how about instead of buy now, pay later, save up and buy later. I like that, Power 96. So, Charlamagne had a lot. He's always got a lot to say, don't he? And sometimes you can't help but to hear him out. Well, let's hear what he had to say about rappers in general and entourages.
Rappers should kind of phase out.
Yeah, entourages are played out, especially if you have a bunch of people around you who don't serve no real purpose. Because if those brothers served a real purpose, they wouldn't be doing something as foolish as that. Because that's not security. Like the way I move, I have real security with me. I have former police officers that are security, and they know how to handle situations. Security's job isn't to beat people up. Security's job is to diffuse things. So if there is a threat, you recognize the threat, and you get Nardo out of there, and then you try to de-escalate the situation. So I think entourages are played out, especially if it's a bunch of people who don't necessarily serve a purpose. I tell folks that all the time, man. Make sure your infrastructure is right. Make sure everybody actually has a role. Make sure everybody actually has a position that they're playing. And when somebody doesn't play that position right, you got to treat it like the NFL. You cut them and you bring somebody else in that can actually play the position. So if I was Nardo Wick, I'd cut all of those people that were around me because they didn't play their position well at all.
Right. Where should he go from here to make it right? Yes, cut everybody.
So obviously he was responding and he said it himself there to the situation with Nardo Wick. First of all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. A lot of these hip hop guys today, when I hear their name, like who is that? Then when I look them up, it's like, oh, they've I don't know their stuff, but they made a lot of money. They've made their money moves. But Nardo Wick got into something, or someone tried to get in something with him, whatever happened. The guy must have said some words, and his security guy absolutely annihilated the guy. One punch. Knocked him cold. And if you saw the clip of that, it appeared to be totally unnecessary. It's like what Charlamagne was saying. If you're trained correctly, and he says he has those people around him, you de-escalate. Plus, it's not the security guy that you the one with all the money, Nardo, and the rest of the other guys, the other hip hop acts, guys and girls. They're coming after you. This guy, when he wakes up, and I think he has woken up by now, he's not coming solely after the security guard. He's coming after your bank account. It's that simple. And what Charlamagne said there was absolutely right. This, if they don't have a role, and there you see, they don't have a role, cut them. They have not learned lessons of the past, have they? I mean, think about what MC Hammer, and I always refer to the MC Hammer story because MC Hammer, if you remember, he was among the first to really have the see other guys back then in Hammer's time. They used to, of course, have a crew with them all the time or whatever. But Hammer would travel 50, 60 deep. And All he knew, in his own words, was these guys were people he grew up with, and he would pay them just to hang out with them, just to be in his crew. They didn't have a role or nothing like that, but he felt responsible because they was from the hood with him. And he wasn't going to forget, quote unquote, where he came from. And so he's going to pay everybody, because he was making money. It doesn't work that way. Hammer turned out broke, filing for bankruptcy, losing everything before, having to reinvent himself and realize. I mean, Hammer would have, and his wife had to be uncomfortable. Dudes hanging out at his house every day, all night. Some of them wouldn't even go home. She come downstairs in her bathrobe. His wife, Hammer's wife, got dudes drunk, hanging over the couch and everything. What kind of environment is that? Because you don't want to forget where you came from? Austin says, isn't Hammer now hammerless and penniless? I don't know that he's penniless now. He might be hammerless, but he's not penniless now. But these guys, then generally, when you have so many like that, and they, as Charlamagne said, they have no role or whatever, these are the guys that get you in trouble. We've seen so much happen with hip-hop artists, and when you boil it all down, whether it be stuff like that, the unfortunate murders of some hip-hop artists, when you boil it all down, it may have very well come down to the fact that if they didn't have certain people in their entourage, they would not have found that trouble. In some cases, they may have still been alive. These guys got to wake up. When you start, Cardi B says she doesn't leave her house unless it's $1 million involved. Now, that sounds like a cocky statement and all, but you got to understand the context. Make it worth my while is what she's saying. And these guys, and the same thing with your entourage, make it worth my while. Not that because you become successful, it's not like you're shutting people out, or you're taking this stand like you're better than them or they're nothing. No, make it worth my while. It's like Austin Cooper. He told me, make it worth his while for me to hang out with him. I had to step up my game to hang out with Austin Cooper. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, and so Greer puts it even more context than Nardo thinks. She says it was a fan who had VIP tickets and approached Nardo, a teenager. Oh my goodness. So and he, yeah, is a white kid too. So you alienate, and look, let's be real. You've heard them all say it. When the white audience fans start buying your music and stuff, you going places. You gonna make a lot of money. But then you start alienating them like that, and no doubt, dude, you've alienated not just this kid and his family, but a whole bunch of folks. And apparently he was only asking for a photo. Wow. And this is the response, because he got close to him. And this guy close to him, and he asked for a photo. Now, you can't expect a yes to every autograph request, every photo request, or whatever. But if you were at a certain location, and it looks like that location they were at, what would have hurt it? What would have hurt for them to say, hey, either one, yes, give the kid a photo, right? Because many fans, they take it to the extreme anyway. It's like, for them, it's like a moment of a lifetime. Or say, now's not a good time. Please move on. or move the artist along. It's one or the other, yes or no. No, the response of brutally beating this kid to show that you some sort of big man or something. So Nardo's going to pay financially. Hopefully, this security guy, pays with a nice little stint as a guest of the Department of Corrections, because it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Then they said that he suffered a concussion and bleeding on the brain simply because he asked for a photo. Heck, now I don't even want to. Not that I would anyway. I don't even want to buy your music now. That gives me even less, more incentive not to buy your music. Listen, come on, that's ridiculous, and you didn't do it. That's the point. That's what Charlamagne. You didn't do that, but now you got people saying, "I leave that." Where are you? Bernie Mac, moving on. Let's move on, America. Oh gosh, unreal, folks. That Angela Connolly, if you're still there, that maybe that's another town hall we need to do. Maybe that's just another. Am I losing my? It's another town hall we need to do. Whew. Unreal. So yesterday we told you about Lenny, American Woman Kravitz. Well, he responded, and Power 96 says he's not buying it, but he responded. He said he's clarifying his comments regarding his absence from Black Awards programs, emphasizing that his concern was not directed at Black-owned media companies. Earlier, and in response to his comments to Esquire, we took him to task. We asked whether he or his publicists or his handlers, did they even know the Black press, or were they ignoring the Black press or Black-owned media? And again, to be clear, Black-owned, Black-targeted. We're talking Black-owned. And we even tweeted at Lenny on X. Did we X'd at him? Did we X'd at him or tweeted at him? How do you say that? We invited him to explain why he chose to take his beef to mainstream media if he had been concerned about the Black press. Well, in his statement, he expressed the importance of setting the record straight. He says, "It is important to me to set the record straight on recent media reports based on an interview I did. My Black musical heritage means a lot to me, and I love my success to my supporters who have taken this journey with me over the span of my career." He went on to clarify the specific nature of his comments, stating that the comment I made was not about Black media or the Black community. I was specifically referring to Black award shows in particular. This is from the man whose biggest hits include American Woman, It Ain't Over Till It's Over. Yeah, I know, and It Ain't Over Till It's Over is a great song. And it was about Lisa. He was like, "Lisa, we got to work this out. Lisa Bonet, we got to work it out." Lisa had Jason Momoa on her mind. She's like, "I'm done, Lenny. We're done." Lenny hasn't done too bad himself. But he insisted that his comments were meant to express concern about ensuring that Black artists are recognized for their work in what is now being called non-traditional Black music. He says, "Rock and roll is the music we were instrumental in creating and is part of our history." He gets absolutely no argument there. If you ever seen the Elvis movie with Tom Hanks, that's when they finally brought out how Black artists were behind Elvis's success. Without the Black artists, Elvis would not have been Elvis. That's what I appreciated most about that movie, that they really brought it out. Power 96 says, tell Steve Harvey to give Lenny a hoodie award. But Lenny goes on to say that we must retain our heritage and celebrate that together. So he's just saying he was disappointed that he not received invitations to events like the BET or Source Awards. He says, here's a Black artist who has reintroduced many Black art forms, who has broken down barriers just like those that came before me broke down. That, he says, is positive. And he says, they don't have anything to say about it. He questioned it. He says, BET and countless others have paved the way for this type of recognition. I hope that by my sharing my concern, a spotlight will be shown on this issue. Love and peace, Lenny Kravitz. There's no question that next year at the BET Awards, Lenny Kravitz is going to do a mini concert. There's no question about it. Y'all know it's going to happen. Southbound 3000 says he has a point. I don't think they do Source Awards anymore. Greer, do they still do Source Awards? I don't think so. But guarantee you he's going to be front and center. And again, particularly after their failed negotiations and sale to Tyler Perry, BET is Black themed, but not Black owned. But nonetheless, it's important to Lenny Kravitz that this Black themed network includes him in the award show. It's no question he will be. There's no question that the NAACP will now take notice. There's no question that the Soul Train awards folks will now take notice. This is what happens. But it's not to take away from the vast genius of Lenny Kravitz. That and Lenny Kravitz, dare I say, is among the most underrated guitarist ever. He really is. And if you, like me, enjoy a good guitar riff, who's better than Lenny Kravitz? I mean, you gotta like Eddie Van Halen, right? You gotta like oh boy, my man, can't even think of his name right now. Oh boy, it's a white guy. I'm thinking of Eric Clapton. But Lenny Kravitz, they have nothing on Lenny Kravitz. And of course, I remember front and center watching him and Prince perform American Woman together with their dueling guitars. No better than Prince, of course. Y'all know that. Purple. But so he deserves his props, and maybe BET, maybe the Source, and I can see the Source for sure. Bootsy Collins, yes, indeed. Southbound 3000, without question. Maybe the Source believe that that's not the type of music we do on our award show, because Source was all about hip hop. So I get that, but I also get what he's saying in that now that we understand, Lenny, that you're not throwing the Black press under the bus, because again, we don't hear from you, your people, or any on red carpets. I said it yesterday. I'll stick to it. On red carpets, you're not going over to Black-owned media to talk to Black reporters, or even perhaps, because there are some Caucasian reporters who work for the Black press, and they're darn good. But you're not going to Black media, Black-owned media. And really, when it comes to Black-owned media, what do you really have outside of the Black press, which encompasses, as I said yesterday, the Amsterdam News, the Washington Informer, the Los Angeles Sentinel, West Side Gazette, Houston Forward Times, the Defender, Chicago Defender, Houston Defender, Baltimore Times. Outside of the Black press, you have Byron Allen's The Griot. So as far as Black owned. There might be one or two others. I don't know. Not really. I mean, because the Root, no, they're white owned. They're not Black owned. They're Black themed. They're Black targeted. This is the word, Black targeted. So Lenny, I still, I mean, we certainly lift you up as the great artist that you are. And that's the thing with Black folks and Black owned folks, Black owned media folks. We have historically, and sometimes, oftentimes, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, oftentimes, to our own detriment, celebrate you guys without, not that we look for anything in return all the time, but we do look for some reciprocation. Like, if you're going to give Esquire 30, 40, 50 minutes or an hour or however long it took you to do that piece with Esquire, then give us some of that time. Reach back. That's part of reaching back. That's part of, when you climbing that ladder and getting on top like that, not kicking the ladder out from beneath you, but even extending that ladder, making it easier to reach you. And there's so many others like you, Lenny, who don't consider the Black press. And shame on you for it. You're still not off the hook. Shame on you for it. And that goes for all folks of power. That even extends to Black politicians. That extends to everyone. If you are not considering the Black press, then shame on you. Because we know when you would consider it if you were to get in trouble and they start canceling you or arresting you or suing you, slandering your name. They always come to the Black press to get repaired. And Southbound 3000 says that once again, we want them advertising dollars. We do, without question, we do. But we want them because, and you do mention, we can hire even more reporters and independent journalists, right? And do even more good work with that. Because the Black press, the one thing, they're not going to, these Black-owned newspapers, they're not going to waste those resources. They're just not. And they're not, and at the same time, as you hear all the time in mainstream, they get these huge payouts, bonuses to the bosses, and then they cut off the staff. Many of them going to totally fake news with AI. They're not even hiding it anymore. But those who own Black newspapers in particular and Black media companies, they are extremely less likely to pocket any additional cash. They don't even know what it many of them don't even know what the word extra cash means. That they're not going to blow it on themselves. They're going to do what Southbound 3000 said. They're going to hire more reporters and independent journalists, and they're going to get the job done. Because again, the Black press, 197 years, the most, really the only trusted voice in Black America, regardless of how depleted some of us are. And Power 96 says Sheila Jackson Lee is using the Black press right now in Houston. It's election time, but she is using the Black press. And that's it. You can't listen. This is the proof is in the pudding. It's been proven time and time again. Big elections that you cannot win without taking out some time with the Black press. Be it both. Well, it really has to be both. sitting down with the black press and advertising with the black press. There you go. So Lenny Kravitz, we hear you, but we ask that you hear us as well. Thank you so much for joining Let It Be Known. We will see. Oh, wait, we have a special coming up, another Let It Be Known later this morning. What time is that again? Join us 11:30, I believe. You'll see the posting. But we have another Let It Be Known coming up. Okay, it's not this morning, but later. We'll give you some details. But anyway, we will see you again tomorrow for sure at 7:30. So tune back in, folks, and continue to show your love for the trusted voice of Black America. We'll see you then.